One more coat of stripper on the lower doors. Get the rest of that gravel guard and some filler cleaned off. Started digging into it. There's what I found in the lower passenger side door. There's a patch brazed on directly over top of some previous rust, so that'll be getting cut out. Then also this corner had some rust holes raised up in the past and starting to come through again. Get this cleaned up and start making patch panels. There's the lower passenger door all stripped down. Had to break out the heavy artillery and use the 3-inch sander for most of that to get that filler off. It was pretty hard. You can see all the spots that were brazed up. Those were trim holes from the chrome that was originally along the bottom of the car. So I'm laying out some patch panels where there's rust in the corners of the doors. I like using a round corner on pieces like that. I find it warps a little bit less than if I made a square corner here. Cardboard works good for this too. You can stick a couple layers of tape on. Cut out the shape you want and peel it off. Take it over and transfer it to your replacement metal. You got a perfect panel. I'll be using 18 gauge for the patches. I'll leave them about another ½ inch wider around these outside edges, so that way I can hammer and dolly it around and form it just like the original skin was. There's a replacement piece. So there's the patches laid out on some 18 gauge. I'll cut them out now. Now I've marked the back side where I want to break it over the edge. So I'm going to do the first one on here. I pulled one section out of the brake so I can do my second bend. Gonna need to clip a little bit more off the corner so I can fold those over nice. But now I can go to the shrinker stretcher and get the right curve into those for the door. The front part of the door is concave, so I want to stretch that. You can see that picked up a curve. The rear part is convex, so we'll shrink it. Doesn't take much to curve them. Check them against the door and see how they fit. Here's our patch panels mocked up on the door. I had to take a little bit of the shrink out of that one. I had too much curve to it, so I put it on the stretcher a few times. Brought it back to where it needs to be. From when it was stretched. Next I'm going to cut off the outside edges of the original skin so that I can get this fit right up into place where it's going to go, trace around where it needs to be cut, and then cut out the rest of the old skin. So just shaved the edges off where this skin was overlapped around, pinching onto the door frame. That way I can fit my patches straight up into where they actually go. Trace around, now I can cut that out. What a surprise, more filler. I knew this bottom edge was rotten. I'm going to have to replace some of this as well. Gives you an idea how the new corner is going to fit in there. I got to replace the structure underneath though, it's all rusted out. Big chunk of filler in there that they put through a hole. And same thing on this side. I have to cut that out and replace it as well. So there's the start of the new structural piece that's going to go underneath that corner skin. I just used my tape patterns to make the corners of them the right shape again. The line that's drawn on there is where I'm going to do some hammer forming to make it fit inside the door. Same thing over here. So you can see that's putting a step in there. This anvil that I'm using, it's just something I made out of a couple pieces of 3/4 inch bar. One's about 6 inches long, one's 12 inches long. Both on a piece of 2 inch by 3/8 strap. You can just put it whichever way you want in the vise, depending on what size of piece of material you're working with. We'll test fit that on the door. there's the new lower door corner welded on. I would normally MIG weld something like that, but I thought I'd use the TIG this time just to get more practice with it. Most of my experience and training is with MIG and arc. I date myself here, but a little over 20 years ago when I took my welding course in college, TIG wasn't really a big focus of it. We didn't spend very much time on it at all. There's a few hammer marks to get out of there yet, but it'll be a lot easier now that that piece is attached to the door instead of trying to hold on to the little part. I need to make that piece and weld it in on the other lower corner, and then I can put those outer skins on that I made earlier. Ready to weld the lower corner patches onto the doors now. The inner structure is done, painted with some weld-free primer as well as the back sides of the patches. Here's the first corner welded on. A couple spots where the gap was a little bit wider, I used 16th inch filler rod. The rest of it I used 035 MIG wire so that I didn't build up as much of a bead and didn't have to put as much heat into it. After it was all tacked on, I'd just do a short weld, cool it with the air compressor, and go on to the next spot, work my way around and weld the whole piece. You notice I moved the magnet there. It was actually making the arc wander when I tried that first tack. As soon as I moved the magnet a little bit farther away, it worked great. I'm going to grind my welds down. I use a 3-inch disc for this sometimes, but I really like using a belt file because you can really keep your grinding right on the weld, not get any of the other metal around it. That's ready for a light coat of filler and it'll be good. Had to tap one spot down a little bit with a hammer. It had raised up a little bit from some heat. Didn't shrink back down completely, but a few taps of the hammer and it went away. Grind the other corner and then flip the door over, finish folding those corners over, weld the insides, and they're done. Couple more little spots to weld right on the edges here, and that corner's finished. Everything's folded in, corners and edges are all welded up. That door's finished. Onto the driver's side door now. There was a ton of filler in the bottom of this. Ended up using a flap wheel on the angle grinder to go through it all. There was so much in here. The metal's not that uneven, so I don't know why they put that much filler in it. Same thing as the other door. There's a patch over top here that's rusted out behind, plus the inner structure is rusty. So I'll do this corner the same as the other one. I ended up replacing the entire lower corner of this door. So the outer skin and this piece you saw before, this one and this one, I made them just like the others, made a pattern out of tape. This and the part where it breaks over here where the weather stripping goes against, that's all one piece. And then the top is a separate piece that I cut out and put through the roller to get the appropriate curve on it, and then welded everything together. I'm going to end this video here. There's still quite a bit of work left to do on the driver's door, the upper portion, and one more lower corner. Thank you very much for watching. As usual, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.